So hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel. So we are covering the GTU syllabus of subject of the cyber security. Okay, so it's while we have post the video because we have some mid semester exam. So again we are come with a new video with the cyber security. So, welcome to the subject of the cybersecurity. So you already know we have started the new chapter. So let us move to the syllabus. So this is exactly the new chapter, that is a network defense tools, and that we have started with the firewall and the packet filters, firewall basics, packet filters versus firewall, how a firewall protects a network. So this is the initial chapter is all about the firewall. So we have started the chapter that is a firewall and the packet filter. Okay, so let's have a quick review on the firewall, and then we will move forward to the real implementation of the firewall into the Windows. I will show you how exactly the firewall rules are applied into your system and how it will be managed. Okay, but before going into that, let's move towards the let's quickly recap the previous scenarios. Okay, yes, so what we have seen, that is a firewall is a device that provides a secure connectivity between the networks. Yes, a firewall may be a hardware, a software, or a combination of both that is used to prevent unauthorized programs or internet users from accessing a private network or a single computer. Right. The types of firewall we have seen, that a hardware firewall as well as a software firewall. A hardware firewall is a physical device. It can be installed between the modem and the computer. It can be incorporated into broadband router being used to, and it protects the entire network. Usually a more expensive and easier to configure. The example of that is Cisco Pix, NetScreen, WatchGuard, etc. A software firewall, it is a software application. It is installed into the computer system that you wish to protect a single computer. We will take an example of a firewall, and I will also give you an example of the hardware firewall. We don't have a hardware firewall available, but I will show you onto the Google how exactly the hardware firewall works look like. So this is usually a computer with a modem attached to it, usually a less expensive, easier to configure. Let's example of the like Norton Security, McAfee. So this antiviruses ultimately handle the firewall of your system. This antivirus ultimately handle the firewall of the system. I will show you. In my computer, I already have the ESET antivirus installed. ESET. So currently my system. So I have the trial version. It will expire soon. That is why it is showing the alert. Okay, I'm going to purchase it soon. I have to take the 3 years plan. Okay, so this is the ESET Internet Security. I will show you exactly how ESET is managing the firewall and how we can update or edit or delete the firewall. So this is about the software firewall. So let's have a look onto the Google. Okay, let's search about the firewalls. There are different providers of the firewalls available into the market. There are let's type Cisco firewalls. So this is the next generation Cisco firewalls. Yes, you can see the cost of the Cisco firewall. It is a 1,56,000. Are you getting that? So this is a kind of a device, you can say. Yes, this is a kind of device. It is that is a yes. This is a kind of firewall device. There are the different series is available, different models available according to their capacity, according to their features, right? So this is a kind of firewall thing. It is a so I have given you the example. The hardware firewall is placed on the top of your network, while the software firewall is integrated into your system, right? So the next, let's move to the firewall rules. So basically, firewalls basically has the three rules: allow, block, and ask. allow traffic that flows automatically. So ultimately, I will show you how exactly the firewall works. So the firewall have exactly the three rules: either allow the particular traffic. Traffic means data. When we send a data, so a message from one computer to another computer, in the technical word, we are treating it as a traffic. So allow a traffic to block a traffic and ask whether it is asked by to the user. So this is the kind of a rule that is allow, block, and the ask rule. Okay. So let's move ahead. So basically, it will have the inbound and the outbound rules. Inbound, so traffic coming to your system, and outbound traffic getting out from your system. So another term we have seen that that's a packet. Packet is a part. It's a block of a data. So when we are sending a data, your data is divided into the parts. That parts will be called as a packets, right? Sniffing mode, yes, we have seen that. Personal firewall can do the stop hackers from accessing your computer, protects your personal information, blocks the pop-ups and so many things, and block the invalid packets. Okay. So this is the kind of architecture we have seen that. Okay. Now we have seen that the packet filters. So packet is nothing but a distinct block of data. It's a small part of a data that is sent over the network. So when we are sending a data from one device to another device, your data is divided into the parts. That parts is called as a packet. So the firewall is applied onto this packet level. We can apply the packet filtering. So in that packet, what does this particular packet have? Packets have the data plus IP address. IP address to whom you want to send the particular data, the IP address of your sender or receiver. So according to sender and the receiver IP address, according to this criteria, apart from this IP address, it includes the port number and the protocol. By, let's say, HTTP protocol port number 80 and the IP address. So according to this condition, firewall rules are applied to this packets on this protocol level to the IP address level. I will show you the exact procedure. So let's say if we apply that. So I have given you the example into the notepad. Let's say IP address would be 192.168.22.25, port number 80, and protocol number HTTP rule will be allowed. So this is a kind of rule will be added to the firewall list. So what it is saying that allow the HTTP traffic from this particular IP address to my system. Allow HTTP traffic on, yes, the HTTP works on the port number 80. Allow HTTP traffic on the port number 80 from this IP address. If you put deny, then you cannot access this IP address from your browser, because when you are accessing from a browser, you are accessing the HTTP request. Okay. So are you getting my thing? So this is a kind of thing. So this is a heart of a firewall. This is a kind of techniques applied to the firewall. So every packet comes, the firewall check the packets to the IP address and the port and all that, and according to that, it will allow or deny. Okay, so let me get you to the actual implementation. So for that, you have to go to the networks and sharing center from your computer. On the left hand side, you can see here on the bottom, there are the different options, but we want to show to the Windows Defender Firewall. So here we are more interested today, that is a Windows Defender Firewall. So as you can see, it is showing that the settings are being managed by the vendor application eSite Internet Security. So I have installed my antivirus, that is a eSite. So currently my firewall rules are the managed by the eSite. So now you are getting how this particular antivirus is blocking the viruses and getting the right information coming to your system. Let's say you can access a google.com. The eSite will allow you to access a google.com, but apart from this google.com, if any malicious thing come into a system, it will block that. So this is a kind of thing the eSite will do onto the backend. So I cannot do anything because it is managed by the eSet. So what I will do, I will go to the advanced settings. I will show you the each and every, see, you can see here inbound rules and the outbound rules. Yes. This is the inbound rule. See, what I'm saying that inbound rules means rules defined. Let's say if I'm defining a rule, inbound rule. Uh, let's move towards a notepad. Let's say this is a google.com, google.com, and let's say this is the inbound rule. This is the uh, let's say inbound. Let's say this is an inbound rule. So what it is show when you request a google.com. So Google is giving some response, but what you are doing, you are putting, let's say, block. So when you access a google.com, so let's go into the browser. When I type google.com, so ultimately what I'm getting this google.com. If I go to the inspect element, if I go to the response, so what exactly I'm getting this HTML code. So what is HTML code? This is HTML code of the Google page, what we are getting here, right? Are you getting my point? So let's say if I put here block, so what I'm doing when I access a google.com, so that is the outbound traffic. The traffic I'm sending to the Google, that is allowed. But I'm blocking traffic coming back from Google. What? Because what I have written that google.com at port number 80, if I get a traffic from Google, I am blocking it. So ultimately, you cannot access a Google because you are sending a data to Google, but Google cannot send your data because you are blocking Google over port number 80. So this is the kind of all the inbound rules are applied over here by default inbound rules. So this is managed by my ESET Internet Security. This is the outbound rules. Outbound means traffic going from your system to another system. You can see here this allow, deny, allow. So ultimately I am allowing the traffic going out of the network from this all this particular websites, and for the inbound rules I am also allowing the traffic from this particular website. So let's say if you want to add a particular manual rule, you can, on the right hand side panel, you can click on the new rule. Yes. What I want to do exactly, I want to do the custom rule. Let's move towards next. So let's do the port and all that. Let's move to the port. So exactly which type of protocol I would like to add on the particular port, that is a TCP or UDP. So let's go with the TCP, and on which port? Let's say port number 80. So go to the next. So what I'm trying to say, allow the connection if it is secure or the block. Allow the connection, allow the collection or the secure, or the block it. So what I'm ultimately doing here on the port number 80, that is HTTP protocol, either block, or either. So this is a kind of inbound rule, right? So maybe, so either block or either allow. So this is a kind of thing you can add over here. Either allow if it is secure. Secure means with the HTTPS protocol. See, HTTP and the HTTPS. So allow if it is a HTTPS request, or either block. So this is the way you can add the rules over here, right? Okay. So this is the nothing but the firewall onto your Windows. So now you will be able to more understand like how the antiviruses are getting work onto your system. Yes. So what exactly these viruses will do? The viruses will add some rules over that from this the traffic should be blocked, from this the traffic should be allowed. So your firewall, you will block all the malicious traffic coming into a system. So this is a really important a feature, you can say, a software, you can say, for your system. So you always have your firewall enabled onto your system. Make sure that the system have your firewall enabled. That is making your system more secure and more you can say the prone to the vulnerabilities, right? So I hope you are getting. So this is a kind of, you can add the outbound rules as well, right? This is the inbound rules and this is the outbound rules. Okay, so everything is fine. So this is the, we can say, the software interface. This is the software firewall we are talking about. This is a software firewall. It is installed into your Windows system. Linux also have the firewalls. So as of now I don't have the Linux. So let me give you the example. Linux firewalls. Linux firewalls. This is a kind of command you have to fire onto the Linux machine. This is a kind of IP tables command. So if you have to type the IP tables command onto the Linux, okay, if you type the command this IP tables onto your Linux terminal, it will show you the firewall rules applied to your Linux system. IP tables is a command for your Linux system, which will show you the firewall rules applied to your Linux system. So this is the kind of, we are talking about the software firewall. Hardware firewall, yes, we have seen that. Another very uh, good firewall, that is a company, that is, you can say, the Sophos firewalls that we are using into our into our college. This is a Sophos next generation firewall. Previously in the Indian, it was an Indian company named as a CyberRoam. Then it is taken over by the MNC of the UK, that is a Sophos. This is also a firewall provided company. So in this kind of firewall, this is a hardware device, right? So it costs very much most, because your software firewall protects only your one system, but your hardware firewall will secure your entire network. Your entire network may have so many hundreds of thousands of pieces. So are you getting that? Let's say this is your college. Let's say this home and coffee shop and mobile. This is your bigger college. Let's say you have the canteen network, you have the computer department network, you have the mechanical department network, you have the cafeteria and all that, which are the different networks. Okay, so on the top of that, you can see Sophos XG firewall. On the top of that, you are putting that hardware firewall. So ultimately that hardware firewall is protecting your entire network. So that is the reason why it is so much costly. The software firewall is only securing your one system, while the hardware firewall is securing your entire network. Okay, so I hope now you are more clear with the hardware firewall as well as the software firewalls, right? So let's move towards the next. Yes, so this is a kind of fundamental thing. It's a packet filtering is the main heart. It is a backend. It is a main heart, and it is a backend where how exactly the firewall works. Okay, so we have seen that the difference. Yes, so we are moving ahead. That is a yes. We have all uh, seen that control, security, and all that. These are the manufacturers. We have seen the Cisco, Nortel, another Juniper is also a bigger giant. We haven't you might haven't heard the name of the Juniper, but Juniper is also a well-known provider of the firewall and the network devices. McAfee, 3Com, and the Citrix. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much all of you for watching this video. So now we are moving towards the next topic, that is a NAT, that is a network address translation. So that is a NAT, that is a network address translation. So ultimately, so what we are doing. So next topic is a network address translation. So for that you have to have to the basic knowledge of the computer networks. What exactly the network is, what exactly the IP address is, what are the private networks, what are the public networks, and all that. So let's move towards the next slide. So there are some concerns over there: the IPv4 problem, the private networks, and the solution with the net. So IPv4 problem is the whatever that connects directly into the internet must have the public. So you have to learn about. So the IP address is a 32-bit address, right? You got it right. It is a address which uniquely which is uniquely identified to your system, to the network. See, now I want to give you a example. Now I want to give you the example. The IP addresses, we have defined the range from class A, B, C, D, right? So, the IP address will be private IP address as well as a public IP address. Now, let me give you the example. What are the private IP address and what are the public IP address? So the private IP address are visible only to the local area network. Again, private IP addresses are visible only to the local area network, while the public IP address are visible to entire the internet. So let me take you the example. You can see the two networks here connected with the internet, left hand side network and the right hand side network. Consider this. So here your whole fundamental will go change because you don't have the deeper understanding of the IP addresses. So you can see on the left hand side, you can see the same IP address, let's say 10.0.1.2, 10.0.1.3 and 10.0.1.1. The same IP address are applied to the 10.0.1.2, 10.0.1.3 and 10.0.1.1. So you will be assuming that H1 system IP address is also applied to the H3 system. Similarly, H2 system IP address is also applied to the H4 and the similar wise. So this violates a constraint. Like someone has said that on a system has a unique IP address, but here we cannot see. We are saying that a two system have the same IP address. Let's say the H1 and the H3 and the H2 and the H4. So now the question comes into that: is it possible? Is it possible? The answer would be yes as well as no. Answer would be yes as well as no. Why? In the terms of private network, yes, it is possible. In the terms of public network, no, it is not possible. Okay, so how? So let's say, let me give you the example. Let us consider that this is your something that is a laboratory of your college, which have this, let's say, three computers. One's IP is 10.0.1.2 and second IP is 10.0.1.3. It is connected to the router. Now, your college has taken has some ISP, internet service provider, let's say the BSNL or Airtel or Tata, which will give you a one cable. With that one cable, they will give you a one IP address, and that IP address, that this is 128.195.4.111. And I'm giving the example. That is a 128.195.4.119. This is the public IP address they will give you to your network. See, take the scenario. Your BSNL service provider give your college only a one IP address, that is a one public IP address. Now consider that your college has 1,000 systems. Your college has 1,000 systems. So how your college access 1,000? How your 1,000 PCs access internet from this one IP address? That's where the private network comes into the picture. So what you will do, you have to create a different IP address. That is, IP address is called as the private IP address with this range. That, let's say 10.0.1.1.1, then .1.2.3.5.6.7.8 and so on. Right? You have to create all the IP address. Now, let's say H1 wants to access a google.com, then that it has to request, so that request will pass from this public IP address to the google.com, and then from that google.com that request will give back to this 128.195.4.119 IP address, and then back to the H1. Similarly, if H2 wants to access any internet, then he has to pass the traffic to this IP, then IP to the internet, then internet back to this IP and back to the H2. So this is how actually the real-time scenario works. So what you are seeing here, H1, H2, H3, so they have the IP address that IP address are local. That IP address are local to the network. So what I'm saying that, let's say, from this internet, if I access this IP address, let's say 10.0.1.2, it will not be accessible. But from this internet, let's say I'm at my home, and if I want to access this IP address, let's say 128.195.4.119, it will be accessible because Why this particular private IP address is not applicable? Because it is private to your network. Similarly, on the right hand side, this IP address is private to the network. So here 10.0.1.2 is a IP address for, let's say, A1 network. So same IP is IP. Yes, IP address is same, but local network is different. That is why we are able to assign the two same IP address, but onto the two different networks. So are you getting my point? Yes or no? So ultimately your traffic is passing from private IP to public IP, then public IP to private IP. Yes. So this is a kind of thing. This is a kind of technique called as a network address translation. Because if let's say if I open CMD and if I type IP config, I will have the IP address. The IP address that is 192.168.0.118. So if you access this IP address on the internet, it will not be accessible. It will not be accessible because why? It is my local IP address. It is my local IP address. It will not be accessible. So this is my router, right? This is my router. This will be applicable onto the internet because I am accessing from the browser. But so in here, exactly my IP address, my public IP address is this one. Are you getting my point? This is my this is my yes. Oh, yes. This is my public IP. That is a 10.5.54.76. This is the IP address which is provided by service provider to me. This is the IP address which is provided by service provider, to me. So, and you can see the LAN IP 192.168.0.1. So anyone will which connects to my internet. You can see anyone connects to this. These are the systems connected to my system. Let's say this when this mobile is connected, it will be given the IP address and let's say 102, then 103, 105, 111, 114. But this IP address will not be accessible on the Google. Why? Because these are the local to my system. Internet knows only this one IP address. So if let's say this is my mobile, that is a Vivo 79, and let's say this is my mobile. So if I want to access anything from this Vivo mobile, so this traffic will go from this let's say from this 102 IP address to this 10.5.54.76 IP address. Then Google will respond to this IP address and this IP address to this particular uh, this IP address. So this private IP address to public IP address and public IP address to the private IP address translation, that translation is called as the network address translation. That translation is called as the network address translation. So I hope you are more clear with the network address translation. So this is a kind of technique you have to go into the research. You have to go into study about the detail into the Google, like what exactly the private IP, what is the public IP. So there now you will be asking like what will be the range of private IP address. So let's start on the range of private IP. Range of IP, yes, it will give you, see, from this range you can apply the private IP address, and rest of that you can apply the public IP addresses. So you have to go out into the detail. So in the the live practical session, I will give you the live practical session onto the one-to-one onto the lecture discussion. Okay. So thank you very much for watching the video. So we are most covered up about the firewall practical session on the firewall with you can say the network address translation, real-time scenarios. I hope you are more clear about all this firewall and the software firewall, hardware firewall and all this thing. So uh, thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any doubts, you can put out the comment over there. I will get back to you on this. Okay. uh, so have a great day. You can say the bye bye.